Thank you very much, and welcome to this meeting of Cabinet. My name is Jonathan Lester. I'm the leader of the council and will be chairing the meeting. In addition to those councillors present in the room, we have other councillors joining via our Teams remotely. I will now check that they can hear us and they can see us and we can see them. So we have Councillor James.
Yes, I can hear and see you.
Thank you. Councillor Proctor.
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Fagan.
Yes, Leader, I can hear and see you.
Thank you. And Councillor Stark.
Yes, Leader, I can see and hear you.
Thank you very much. And we also have group leaders in the room or their representatives. And we also have Councillor Crockett as well, who is Chair of Health and Wellbeing, who will be speaking later on. So we have a number of officers attending in person and remotely, and they will introduce themselves when called upon. So thank you. I will now formally open the meeting. The agenda papers and other relevant information for this meeting are available for public viewing on Herefordshire Council's website. The Council is streaming this meeting live on Herefordshire Council's YouTube channel and making a recording. To ensure that recording quality is maintained, please speak as clearly as possible and keep background noise to a minimum. Microphones should be muted when you're not speaking. Only one microphone will be able to speak at any one time. Will flash green when you are waiting and red when you are speaking. If you have any issue with your microphone, please let the clerk know, who can allocate a new microphone accordingly. Please ensure that mobile phones and other devices, laptops, etc., are muted now, please. Others are permitted to film, photograph, and record the public meeting, provided it does not interrupt or disrupt the business of the meeting. If any members of the public do attend who do not wish to be filmed or photographed, they must please notify a member of staff. As we move through the agenda, in addition to discussion by Cabinet members, I will invite group leaders or their representatives to indicate if they wish to speak on views and represent the views of their group. Where appropriate, I will call upon Scrutiny chairpersons to comment on behalf of the committee, and everyone can speak once on each item. Voting will be undertaken by a show of hands. Only Cabinet members physically in the room may visit the meeting, but vote. Okay, thank you. But before we do commence the Cabinet meeting, it's with great sadness that we have to start this Cabinet meeting without Councillor Bob Matthews. Bob Matthews passed away last Thursday, and I'm sure we are still all coming to terms with the loss of a dear colleague. Bob has been such a stalwart councillor. No one could have been more dedicated to the role, and his length of service speaks volumes about his commitment and devotion to public service and Herefordshire Council. For those of you who knew him, all will agree with me that he was a man of resolve. He showed true grit and determination and fought for what he believed in. He never faltered in wanting the best for the people he represented and for everyone in Herefordshire. He had a great zeal for wanting to get things right, and his persistence and fortitude in post was exemplary. He was earnest and diligent, but he always had a cheeky smile as he was mindful of how challenging things could be. Bob set an example to us all about how to serve as a councillor, and it is true to say that the council will not be the same without him. We will all miss him, and it is at times like this that we'll come to realise just how much a person contributes to all of our efforts. On behalf of the council, I would like to give our collective condolences to Bob's family and friends. I would now like to ask group leaders for their comments, please. Thank you. Councillor Harvey.
Thank you, Leader, and I support the kind words and that you've just given. Councillor Matthews was a larger-than-life character. I think we can all agree with that. who's dedicated his life to public service. His championing of independence in local politics has been instrumental in Herefordshire becoming known as a leader in the national movement. A great champion for his communities in Credon Hill and Brainton, Bob was a strong and consistent advocate for a second city bridge for Hereford, and his passion and challenge in our council and committee meetings will be greatly missed.
Thank you. Councillor Davis.
Thank you, Leader. Thank you for the kind words. I have only known Bob for about 4 years, but Bob's legacy is one of tireless service, deep compassion for his community, and an unshakable commitment to the principles he held dear. His passing is a sad loss to his family and to the community he served so diligently. His impact on Herefordshire will be remembered for many years to come. May he rest in peace. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Simmons.
Thank you, Leader. Bob was one of the first councillors to welcome me to Herefordshire Council after the elections last May. He then promptly tried to persuade me to join the independents. I very much, and as a group, we admired his steadfast belief and commitment to that political independence, even if we disagreed with his stance sometimes. As a group, we very much valued his, I think, more than 25 years' experience, and through all the changes of the council that you alluded to, we will sorely miss that memory. But most of all, I think we'll miss Bob's mischievous sense of humour and his dapper dress, and particularly his rose buttonhole. As you said, Leader, the council will not be the same without him, and our deepest condolences to his family.
Thank you. And if there are no further comments, I propose that we stand and have a minute's silence. Oh, sorry, I beg your pardon. Councillor James.
Thank you, Jonathan. Just as someone who's known Bob, I expect longer than anyone else here today, I found it a great sadness to suddenly hear he had died. Fortunately, he had a peaceful passing, I think, and I hope. He was a character, which is rare in these days in politics. We seem to have people who are more interested in the politics than the people. And Bob was a true local member who looked after his ward diligently and vigorously over the years. He was responsible for lobbying for the Roman road. Many people don't even know what the Roman road was like before we had the upgrade of that particular road. It was a small country lane, and Bob pushed very, very hard to get that. And I was able to achieve that in the early days of the council. He has had a great deal of stress over the last recent years, and he sorely missed Liz, his partner of a number of years, who he was very close to. And I shall miss the phone calls. I shall miss coming home and my wife say, Bob's been on the phone, which was a regular occurrence. Usually he was irate that somebody had done something he disapproved on the council, and he wanted to bend an ear about it. So we will, I hope, have more to say at the full council, the next full council. But he will be missed, and especially by those people that he represented in his ward, who always, and all shades of political view, as a none, he represented full and vigorously on the council and behind the scenes. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor James, and thank you to all group leaders who have commented. And I now propose that we stand and have a minute's silence. Can we now just go to apologies for absence?
So we have apologies from Councillor Chowns and Councillor Durkin, Councillor Hercombe, Councillor Biggs and Councillor Mason.
Okay, thank you. Okay. And yes, thank you for those kind words about Bob Matthews. But we, as a result, I'm very give a big warm welcome to Councillor Davis, who will be undertaking the role of group leader of the True Independents. So it's a sad occasion, but it's nice to have you with us, and thank you. And also,
Thank you, Leader.
Councillor Simmons will be representing the Green Party in Councillor Chowns' absence. So a big warm welcome to you as well. Okay, thank you. In other news, I'm sure everyone will be wanting me to acknowledge the fact that it's Andrew Lovegrove's last day with us. So Andrew will be leaving us tomorrow, but he's a glutton for punishment and really wanted to come to the last cabinet meeting to make sure that we make all the right financial decisions. So I'd just like to reflect on the fact that Andrew has served us since 2017, taking us through as a council extremely challenging financial times, and led with great stewardship on all of those key financial issues, making sure that that the council had got the money it needed to achieve all of those things that it did. It's a huge debt that we owe you in terms of public service, and we wish you all the best for the future. So thank you all very much for your efforts. I only learnt just the other day that you didn't possess a calculator until only recently, and that was a secret Santa gift, I do believe. But I heard that the reason why the sums always added up was because you do possess an abacus. Is that correct? Right. Okay. So now we know. Now we know the reason for it all. But no, we wish you all the best on behalf of the council and the cabinet, and thank you for all of your efforts, Andrew. Okay, so we go to item 2, which is declarations of interest, which is, are there any table A, table B, or any other interests for the agenda item today? None. Okay, thank you. Agenda item 3 is minutes of the previous meeting that was held on the 16th of May. No matters of accuracy have been notified to the monitoring officer. Cabinet members, are you content that we agree the minutes for that day? Thank you. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, Leader. Am I okay to say something? It's just on the minutes. There's an error in the front page. It says Cabinet support members in attendance, Councillor Hercombe, and then in the apologies, he's in there.
Thank you for that matter of accuracy. Thank you very much for pointing that out. Any other matters of accuracy, Councillor Harvey?
Yes, I asked some questions during the item on the Q4 outturn, which had to be provided in writing because of the nature of them. I'm disappointed that I didn't receive those written responses until the day after closure, the deadline for submitting written questions to this meeting. Had I received the written response sooner, I definitely would have submitted written questions to this meeting about the way the funding has been removed from reserves.
Does this relate to the accuracy of the minutes? Sorry.
Well, it's not part of the minutes because it wasn't able to be answered in the meeting.
Okay.
And
well,
it can't be part of this meeting because the information wasn't provided in time.
Okay.
But I will be putting the response that
Okay,
I've been
thank you.
provided with on the public record.
Okay, thank you. Right, if there are no more matters of accuracy, we can approve those minutes. Yep. Thank you. Item 4 is to receive any questions from members of the public. Members of the public have the opportunity to submit questions to Cabinet in writing ahead of the meeting. We have received 2 questions for this meeting, and the responses have been published as the supplement to the agenda papers. Those who have submitted a question have been given the opportunity to submit a written supplementary or attend the meeting to ask their question live. Supplemental questions are to be no more than 1 minute in length and must include a question. So, can I now ask the clerk if we've received any supplementary questions from the members of the public?
Thank you. We've received 2 supplementary questions. First one is from Jill Ginman. I'll just bring it up on screen. The supplementary question from Mrs. Ginman is, I am pleased to learn that £50,000 has been allocated to further the case for the Golden Valley Parkway, and that the planned study will seek to build on the previous feasibility study, etc. Given that the 2020 outline business case identified a station design that represents high value for money, according to the DFT's own guidance, BCR2, and secured the support of Herefordshire and Monmouthshire MPs, Monmouthshire County Council, the Welsh Government Minister for Economy, Transport in North Wales, Midlands Connect and the Hay Festival, etc., what will the new SOBC task force seek to achieve without duplicating previous work that will progress this case further?
Thank you for that supplementary question, Mrs. Ginman, and if I can now ask Councillor Price to answer.
Yes, thank you, Mrs. Ginman, for your supplementary question. It is essential that the business case for the station addresses several issues raised by the Department of Transport in 2022 in response to the unsuccessful bid to the Restoring Your Railway Fund. The new SOBC will therefore need to reflect updated analysis, including changes to travel patterns because of the COVID pandemic, passenger demand forecasts and estimated construction costs. The inclusion of rail industry partners in the task force should ensure that the case made by the SOBC is as robust as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Price. And do we have another supplementary question?
Yes, the second one is from Charlotte Enyon, who is again for Councillor Price. Her supplementary question is, whilst I appreciate that the council is looking to support young people in rural areas with apprenticeships, etc., without a reliable, regular transport service, how does the council propose to make this viable for young people who do not drive and are reliant on parents, friends, etc.? The opportunities are only effective and successful if people can access them.
Thank you for that supplementary question. And again, if I can ask Councillor Price to answer.
Yes, thank you, Mrs. Island, for your supplementary. It's quite a long answer, I'm afraid. The Council is supporting bus operators to expand their services in rural areas and between market towns and Hereford using the Bus Service Improvement Plan known as BSIP Plus, grant from the DFT. We work with bus operators under an enhanced partnership process to identify and support services that are necessary and that bus operators can deliver. The Council itself does not run any bus services. For the first tranche of BSIP Plus funding, operators have requested support on the following schemes. The city centre services E and F run by sergeants. E is the Hereford City bus station outside Tesco's to the Whitecross area and Moor Farm. F is the Hereford City bus station at Tesco's to Redhill and Saxon Gate area. The 476 by DRM, introduction of an hourly timetable between 9 AM and 3 PM 6 days a week. This will include 2 new stops. DRM are creating a new timetable for submission to the Traffic Commissioner. The 78X Yeomans, Hereford City bus station Tesco's to Rotherwas. This route will be extended to the Shell store and timings changed to benefit the local workforce. The 492 service by Yeomans, reinstate hourly 492 and later PM service, Hereford rail station to Leominster. The 36 service, reinstate 2 hourly and reinstate Sunday services, Hereford Rail Station to Monmouth. The 420 service, reinstate Bromyard to Worcester service. The 469 service, simplified timetable from Bromyard to Hereford. The 461 service, later journeys between Hereford and Kington. And Sunday services, continued support for Sunday services on the 420 and 469, amongst others. We hope to be able to make further service improvements as more funding becomes available. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Price, and thank you to those members of the public who asked questions of Cabinet. We now go on to agenda item 5, which is to receive questions from members of this council. And we have one question from Councillor Proctor, and I believe, Councillor Proctor, you would like to ask your supplementary question. So over to you, Councillor Proctor.
Thank you for the answer to my written question. If the work to move to a new telephone system is completed by the end of July, this will be 12 weeks later than anticipated in the response to my question to Cabinet in April, and this is in an area that Cabinet apparently has significant concerns about. When people need this support, they are facing one of the most stressful situations most of us will ever have to deal with, the loss of a home. And I've heard from people in my ward that not knowing when or if they will be able to speak to someone in housing support is an incredibly difficult addition at an incredibly difficult time. My original question in April was actually, how can Cabinet assure itself that this service is adequately resourced to meet demand? If this fairly trivial technical change actually is implemented at the end of July, when does the Cabinet anticipate being able to assure itself that this service is adequately resourced to meet demand?
Thank you very much, Councillor Proctor, for that good question. Councillor Gandy, can you answer, please?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Proctor. I, like you, am disappointed that the system has not yet been gone live, and I recognise that the reasons for the delay should not have been have stopped the implementation of the system. I've therefore asked the Chief Executive to take this up with Hoople, because I, like you, recognise that this is a vital service for some of our most vulnerable people. And I will try to keep you updated with the progress. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gandy, and thank you, Councillor Proctor, for your question. We now move to agenda item 6, which is reports from scrutiny committees. So we have 3 reports that have come through the hard work of scrutiny meetings, and we'll take them in the order they appear on the agenda. So first of all, the Children and Young People Scrutiny Committee met recently regarding workforce challenges in children's services. Councillor Fagan is the chairperson for this committee and is here to introduce the recommendations from the committee. Councillor Fagan, over to you.
Thank you, Leader. Yes, the Children and Young People Scrutiny Committee met earlier this month to discuss workforce issues and the workforce strategy. This has been an area of improvement which was identified by the Ofsted report, and it is priority number 2 in the current iteration of the improvement plan. So it was a really good meeting. It was really helpful to see how much work has gone into the children's workforce strategy, and that all indicators are that the system is calming, because obviously the issue of having a stable workforce and making sure that the recruitment and retention activity is stabilised in the council is really, really important to the children, young people and their families in Herefordshire. One of the areas that we discussed was, although the activity in the RAG rating is is green, and that's because there's been a lot of work on the strategy and actually sort of stabilizing the workforce. The actual impact of that has not yet sort of been determined, so that in the current iteration of the improvement plan is still brag rated red, which means that there's limited or sporadic impact on improving outcomes for a few children and young people in the county. So we looked at that and heard what the staff had to say about the report, and we came back with some recommendations that included identifying measures of success for each of the strands in the children and young people workforce strategy, so that it was easier to see where changes were actually happening, and obviously with the looking in the longer term to actually seeing what the impact of that was on children and young people. The second recommendation was that we make clear links between the council's corporate workforce strategy and its children and young people workforce strategy, which wasn't the links between the two strategies weren't very clear. And sort of within that whole discussion around the strategy, we looked at things like exit interviews, which haven't been fantastic, and there is a sort of renewed vigor to find out exactly sort of what the issues are for members of staff leaving, because that's obviously valuable information, I suppose, not only for children's and department, but for every department. So keeping our tabs on that, really important. The other recommendation was to build links and invest in local schools and the voluntary organisations to encourage people to consider children's services as a career. So obviously, one of the things that we're trying to do in Herefordshire is to encourage more people from Herefordshire to actually become part of a stable workforce, and it was felt that it was very important to make these links, first of all, with young people coming up through the school system, going into college and looking towards further education as to what they would do. So to promote our children's services careers through the schools, important. And then also to look at the different organisations working within Herefordshire to encourage more people who are involved already with communities in Herefordshire to actually become part of our workforce. So that was that underpinned that recommendation. And then we wanted to ensure that the voice of young people actually informed the workforce strategy. So although there are complications in doing that, but we felt that it was really important that we actually heard from young people and that they had an active voice in that strategy. And then the final recommendation was to describe the link between activity outputs, outcomes, and the impact of the workforce strategy in terms of a theory of change model. And that was an important aspect, because we felt that we wouldn't actually be able to properly look at the impact of what had been done if we weren't using a model like theory of change to actually map where we were, sort of where we wanted to get to, why we wanted to get there, and then work back so that at every step of the way we could see how we were progressing towards the final changes that we wanted to make. And that would probably help us assess what the impact of that, all those changes and all that energy and all that work from our workforce, how that actually impacted young people in the county. So it was a really helpful meeting. It was very good to see the commitment that the staff have put into changing the service, and how the work on sort of relationships within the service and with the users of the service in Herefordshire is actually changing the way that we interact with each other and with the children, young people and their families. And I think that the overall feeling was that there is a huge amount of effort that has gone into this, and a real appreciation for the workforce in children's and young people services in Herefordshire for all that they have done to make these changes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Fagan. That's very encouraging, and thanks Scrutiny for the good meeting that they had. Thank you very much. So the next matter that went to another scrutiny meeting was the Herefordshire Council Delivery Plan recommendations. Councillor Proctor is the chairperson here, and he will introduce the recommendations from the committee. Councillor Proctor.
Thank you. So obviously, I think the first thing is all members will be aware that I was not a member of the committee at the time that these recommendations were drafted. So I'd like to recognise the hard work done by those members chaired by Councillor Harvey, and some of those members are present here. Cabinet has rather taken the wind out of my sails in this case by having already responded to the recommendations further down the agenda. So I won't. It seems unnecessary to rehearse those recommendations you've already responded to. So I'll thank you for having responded to them, and for the changes that have been made as a result of at least some of those recommendations. And I think I'll just note that I imagine that the board will continue to be very interested in the link between the council plan, the delivery plan, and the mobilisation of resources, and how the council's financial and other resources are effectively used to deliver those plans.
Yes, thank you for that, Councillor Proctor, and thank you for acknowledging the work of the previous chair and the committee. And I look forward to the scrutiny committee making sure that the delivery plan is scrutinised accordingly with the ambitions that the plan sets out. Thank you for that. And the other last item with scrutiny was the Health and Care and Wellbeing Scrutiny Committee met with regard to the outcome of the Care Quality Commission inspection of Herefordshire and Worcestershire Health and Care NHS Trust. Councillor Crockett is the chairperson here to introduce the recommendations from the committee.
Thank you, Leader. Thank you, Chairman. Yes, it's a big title, isn't it? I always have to read it a couple of times before I say it. But Scrutiny Committee, the Healthcare and Wellbeing Scrutiny Committee, welcome the opportunity to have a look at this Care Quality Commission report. Herefordshire and Worcestershire Health and Care Trust have only taken on these mental health services since 2020. So they came in at a difficult time anyway. This is when the whole pandemic kicked off, so they were thrown into it, really. That said, they've done a really good job, although on those 3 inspection visits from the CQC throughout 2023, they noted there were several areas that required improvement. So a 130-page document was produced, and that now has been brought to us, and we've scrutinised it, and the directors, etc., have come and explained many questions that the committee members had. So that was a great opportunity. Finally, just must note, a couple of the ratings on that report were good, and these were related to the Herefordshire services. We have 2 main services that the Trust supply us with, and that is the main one, which is Stonebow Road service there, and Community Mental Health Services. And one of the recommendations that was picked up from Councillor Tillett was that the staff attending those community services over at Leominster and Ledbury were finding it difficult to park. So that is the only recommendation that we looked at for this executive to consider. And just finally, I thank Councillor Gandy for attending that meeting and for her input. And just finally, there is a typo on that first recommendation, and I'll get our officer to change that because it's not Ettenham Street.
Well spotted, Councillor Crockett. Yes, Ettenham Street, yeah, absolutely. But no, thank you for that recommendation directed towards the Cabinet, and we will give that due consideration and get back to you as soon as we've had an opportunity to see how we can support staff. Thank you very much. So as Councillor Proctor has stated, the recommendations for the scrutiny, the management board that have been responded to, but are we, as a cabinet, content to note the recommendations of each committee and give the responses where we need to? All in agreement? Yep, thank you. And once again, thank you to the scrutiny committees for all of their hard work in making sure that the council business is scrutinised accordingly. So agenda item 7 is the delivery plan for 2024-25. So this cabinet item is to approve the council's delivery plan for that period. Cabinet is required to produce a delivery plan which sets out how the strategic priorities within the Herefordshire Council plan will be delivered and monitored. The item begins on page 41 of the agenda pack. The responses to the Scrutiny Management Board Working Group recommendations were published as a supplement on the 25th of June and can be found in the second supplement on page 3. Councillor Stoddard, can I ask you to introduce the item accordingly? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Leader. The delivery plan for 2024-25 that is before you today is the first of the 4 annual delivery plans that are directly linked to the Herefordshire Council Plan of 2024-2028, which was approved at full council on the 24th of May earlier this year. The council plan, together with the medium-term financial strategy, or MTFS, are the overarching policy frameworks within which decisions will be taken and resources allocated over the coming 4 years. As part of the preparation of this delivery plan, we have consulted very, very widely. This has included the Scrutiny Management Board, a Scrutiny Working Group, a political group consultation, and discussions with numerous individual councillors. I would like to take this opportunity to remind you all of the vision as contained in the council plan, which is delivering the best for Herefordshire in everything that we do. This vision has been at the forefront as we have worked to detail the elements that will make up each of the 4 priorities of people, place, growth and transformation. The Delivery Plan 2024-25 outlines how the Council's priorities and objectives will be achieved and specifically what will be delivered in the coming 12 months. Under the people priority, to support the 6 objectives that we have listed 26 specific deliverables that we are committed to delivering, each one supported by key milestones detailing how we will achieve these. Under the place priority, to support the 6 objectives there, we have listed 24 specific deliverables that we're committed to delivering, again, each supported by key milestones detailing how these will be achieved. Under the growth priority, and to support its 6 objectives, we have listed 17 specific deliverables that we have committed to delivering, each supported by key milestones. And finally, under the transformation priority, we will support the 6 objectives with 7 specific deliverables that we're committed to delivering, each one again supported by key milestones detailing how these will be achieved. That's a total of 74 deliverables that we will provide to the people of Herefordshire this year. The monitoring of the delivery plan will be done through our quarterly performance reporting into Cabinet. There will also be routine financial monitoring against the approved revenue and capital programme, which will be included as part of the regular quarterly budget reporting to Cabinet. Monthly progress reports will also be provided to the corporate leadership team. Annual service plans, which will outline service area priorities and key areas of focus to achieve the objectives. And finally, there will be annual individual performance and development plans for staff across the council aligned to service area priorities and objectives. I would also like to take this opportunity to remind Cabinet that the development of any projects within the Delivery Plan 2024-25 will seek to minimise any adverse environmental impact and will identify opportunities to improve and enhance environmental performance. Equality impact assessments will also be carried out as part of the development of projects within the delivery plan. In conclusion, we have produced a delivery plan that is ambitious and challenging, but is one that we will meet on behalf of the people of Herefordshire. I strongly endorse this to Cabinet and for their endorsement of the 2 recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stoddard. Cabinet members, any comments about the delivery plan? Yep. Okay, Councillor Swinglehurst, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stoddart. So yeah, just a few words about the environmental aspects. So as a consequence of the Environment Act 2021, Herefordshire Council will be developing a local nature recovery strategy and biodiversity net gain. This will require very close working with partners and stakeholders to maximise the opportunities that it presents, which we're doing. And there's also a tree and hedgerow strategy being developed that will not only address the preservation of trees and hedgerows, but also the replacement where ash dieback has led to losses, and a strategy to replace those lost trees. The net zero journey, that's, I would say it's a relay. It passes from administration to administration, but we're continuing that journey to achieve 65% reduction in CO2 emissions by the end of the year. That's since the 2008-9 benchmarking. What I think is good about the delivery plan is where we're able to put a really clear target. It's not always possible. Where it's possible, it's very good to see, because it gives something that we can be measured against. So, energy efficient measures in 200 homes and 50 public available EV charge points is the sort of things that I like to see in there. Again, also continuing work with the phosphate mitigation, which is great. The Luston wetland has been widely acclaimed, and credit is due to the team that made that a reality from an idea. It's always difficult to do it the first time, so credit where it's due. I'm very pleased to see that. So moving away from my own portfolio, really happy to see the investment in parish councils. That they're so important in what they do and what they can deliver on the local for local people, and also for the proposed investment with the Ross Enterprise Park. It's been a long time coming. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Swinglehurst. Any more comments from Cabinet members? Councillor Price.
Yes, thank you, Leader. Just to comment on some of the schemes that we're looking at, and it crosses over into Councillor Durkin's area as well as mine. But the delivery of the new road strategy, this has been going on for years and years and years, but we are in a position where we are progressing the scheme review for the South Wye Relief Road. That's going ahead according to plan, and the phase 2 of the Western Bypass and a second river crossing, which has already been mentioned once today. The local transport plan, absolutely necessity for the county. That will come to a complete draft later in the year. We're discussing the public realm services later on, and that is moving forward as meant to be. And I want to just again mention the same as what Councillor Swinglehurst just said about working with parishes on locally important maintenance. So the Lensman scheme, delivering the scheme within the additional £250,000, the public rights of way an extra £250,000, and the drainage, which is becoming ever more important, is important to parishes. I'm dealing with it locally as a ward member on a number of issues. This is of such great importance, and we have 445k in that, which is really important. And those parishes that are expressing interest at the present moment, let's get things done locally and get them done, because this money might not be available going forward. So please get your parishes aware and building up schemes that can be delivered. In place, we're moving places. Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Price. Any other Cabinet members? No. Okay. In that case, we'll go to comments from group leaders. If group leaders would like to comment. Who would like to go first? No one? Okay, we'll press on. Oh no. Councillor Simmons.
Thank you, Leader. The Green Group broadly welcome that the delivery plan has been produced and has been presented and consulted on quite widely through the political group consultation as well as briefings to all members. I do, however, feel that it's unambitious in its focus on young people and the environment. So I fully take on board what Cabinet Member for Environment Alyssa Swinglehurst has said with regard to the excellent work done on the Luston wetlands, and congratulate you on the award for that. However, climate change, we have declared a climate emergency. We reiterated that with a unanimous vote by full council. However, climate change is barely referenced within the delivery plan, except for within one silo where you specifically reference it. You talk at the beginning about the equality impact of it. However, you are then progressing with other things that completely are at odds with the importance and urgency. There's been a removal from reserves of £800,000 dedicated as a result of the climate assemblies to actions. So how can that happen and yet the delivery plan still be working forward to achieving the step change we need within Herefordshire to manage our emissions and develop and persuade our partners in this to improve, reduce their emissions. So that's the first thing. With regard to rivers, and again, upholding standards, minimising pollutions, maximising biodiversity. We even reference there statutorily required things as a kind of an ambition or something within our delivery plan. They are a legal baseline. We should be looking to go beyond that within our work to do the step change we need to improve our rivers. What we're seeing as a result of this delivery plan is the plans that run alongside that, for example, the county plan, local development framework, not being ambitious in its response in terms of, for example, reducing intensive livestock units. We talk about the expansion of them. So we are not in line with our own delivery plan from what I can see, which have real concerns about. In relation to children and our real need to do early intervention and a step change in how we support young people within the county, I can see that there are some really good pieces within this delivery plan, but again, we have got to get better at focusing with our partners outside of the statutory partners, but our voluntary groups within the county, and that needs to be, I think, better referenced and picked up through deliverable targets. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Simmons. Councillor Harvey.
Thank you, Leader. There's no doubt that there's been improvement in this delivery plan during its gestation, and it's good that it's been consulted on as broadly as it has. I'm a little disappointed that the working group under the Scrutiny Management Board, which was proposed to look at this final draft in the context of the recommendations that Scrutiny Management Board made on an earlier draft, doesn't appear to have taken place. It is the case that this is a rather less ambitious 4-year plan than the county plan that it supersedes. One of the recommendations of Scrutiny Management Board was if this council is going to focus down on providing a 4-year plan for only the council's own activity, that it is necessary that the council takes a leadership role in Herefordshire in developing a more strategic plan for the whole county and involving all sectors of the county community in bringing that plan together, not just on climate change, but on other areas of development and challenge for this county, whether it's housing, whether it's higher value jobs, whether it's sort of food and drink security, whether it's public transport and sustainable movement. all of these things need to be discussed, but they need to be on a longer time scale and a broader canvas. And that has now been contracted down to a document which only looks at what this council is going to do. Well, fair enough. Let's stick to our knitting with this plan. But let's not forget if it isn't the council that encourages and takes leadership in developing that bigger plan for the whole county, I don't see anybody else who is as well placed to step into that space. So I really hope that is a recommendation from Scrutiny Management Board which is taken forward, and there hasn't been a formal response to the Scrutiny Management Board recommendations, which I assume will come forward in due course. It is good to see that there are more tangible milestones being highlighted for delivery in year than were in some of the earlier drafts. I am hoping, and I would like to make a plea now, for when we have the progress reports that are published alongside the quarterly reporting of financial delivery, that we actually have some phasing of the delivery of this plan, so there's some clear articulation of when over the coming year these deliverables are anticipated to come forward, and some sort of red, amber, green identification of what progress is being made against achieving them. I hope and expect that will be the case, but I really make a plea that plans are put in place to ensure that next month, I think, the quarter one report should come to Cabinet, and that the report is sufficiently detailed in terms of progress of delivery against this to actually help us all see that there's real tangible progress being made.
Thank you, Councillor Harvey. Councillor James?
Thank you, Chairman. Leader. Yes, it's good that we've got something to measure the performance and achievements by the council. But I do caution the fact that so much of the aims that we wish to achieve are in the hands of central government and its agencies. I mean, the hedgerow issue, which is there's been some major step forwards as far as that's concerned, and the revised stewardship schemes that the government have for supporting agriculture. I'm involved in several at the moment, and they will have a considerable benefit to the environment within the Herefordshire. So I'm fairly optimistic as far as that's concerned. And the environment is concerned, that the changes that have been done as far as the support for agriculture will have a beneficial effect on the environment. But in the end, it's what we actually do, and we'll be judged by. Do we just have words, another thick document, or are we actually doing something on the ground and achieving something on the ground? Or are we achieving very little compared with what the resources, effort, and time that is going into it? We have a very bad record, the public sector, of efficiency as far as these sort of things are concerned. And so I look forward to being able to see what we actually do.
Thank you, Councillor James. Me too. Councillor Davis. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, Cabinet members. So you heard the feedback from group leaders. Would any Cabinet members like to? Oh, Councillor Powell, if you could give your views to Cabinet about
thank you. Just
the
wanted
ambitions.
to pick up on the comment about excuse me, the ambition for children, young people, and families. So obviously, page 15 of the plan references the under underpinning theme and the importance of partnership working. And later in the document, there is a link to the early help and prevention strategy, which in itself also references the Children Young People's Plan. So I chair the Children Young People's Partnership Board, which has a range of updates provided to it, which includes delivery against the early help and prevention strategy. Councillor Simmons and I have talked about this, and we continue to engage. So the ambition is set out in that plan. Do we need to improve the early help system, which is all agencies as identified in Working Together 2023? Yes, we acknowledge we do. The council have commissioned an organisation called People2 to currently review early help. That will report shortly. As part of that, we've also engaged directly with the review of Talk Community and where there may be some opportunities there. There is also the important matter of early years provision, so slightly different to early help, but early years provision. And really helpfully, just before the start of this meeting, Councillor Simmons has indicated a particular early years provider, which on the face of it has really, really strong emerging good practice. So I've undertaken to have conversations with that organisation about exploring whether that can be a model that we would want to promote at the county level. At the most recent Children Young People's Partnership Board, we received a briefing on early years provision in terms of the extended offer due to be in place by September. Forgive me, I haven't got all of the details immediately in front of me, but my overarching, or rather the board's overarching takeaway was that there will be sufficient provision for those families who are seeking places for that extended offer. And it is clear that within Liz Farr's directorate, there is really, really strong engagement between the officers in the council and the early years providers to kind of understand the likely ask from children and families coming forward versus the extent of provision. So there's a few headlines there, but just an assurance that, in my view, the ambition is set out in the plan because of the reference to the other documents, but I absolutely acknowledge there is a need for that ongoing discussion around early help provision across the system, targeted early help provision by the local authority, and the quality of early years provision. So a range of things there that we absolutely need to keep on top of. But my personal view is there is ambition set out.
Yeah, Councillor Powell, thank you for that. Because if we go to the where we're giving the support for all children to have the best start in life, so this development plan is to develop the revised improvement plan, embed the restorative practice model, ensure that the views and the lived experience of children and young people inform the strategies that we are going to provide. We're going to roll out the delivery of the early intervention and prevention strategy, increase capacity in special educational needs in school places, and develop and launch the updated corporate parenting strategy. Those seem to me quite ambitious things to have achieved in 1 year. Would you agree?
The short answer is yes, with much to do across the whole department. My view is that those strategies have been refreshed and revised, and there are underpinning action plans for each of those, which is also the important thing.
Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Swinglehurst.
Thank you. Yeah, just to pick up on this question around the Climate Assembly actions. Those actions will be delivered, so they're unimpacted by this. So partly the reason that the funding has not been required is because funding was sought externally, and also some projects came in under budget. So the money was excess in that reserve. There are other reserves for climate change. So that's that's kind of, you know, the explanation around that. I think the you know, again, it's a 1 year delivery. There's a limit to what you can do in a year. You need a pipeline of actions. And given that we also have, I think, hopefully, Councillor Stoddart will pick up this aspect of it, that we're actually trying to create, you know, a healthy financial position. It's not sensible to have money just without any particular allocation due to other monies having come in and pushed it out, or savings on the delivery of the projects. The point that you're making about joining up with the local plan and sort of being consistent across the plans, it's a very good point. Yes, absolutely. But the local plans, you'll know, it's just done Reg 18, and so it's not, you know, it's not quite a set thing yet. But so if that kind of, you know, if you feed that into the process there, then because obviously it makes sense that they align as far as possible. Although there is alignment, I think, with the changes that came up with the minerals and waste plan. So it's not like that things aren't aligning, they are, particularly around nutrient neutrality. But I think Councillor James makes a good point that not everything is within the control of the council. So some things will be delivered, as it were, through other things occurring. So if we're talking about the river, we have a role to play. It's facilitating, it's partnership working, it's you know, drawing things together, it's seeing opportunity. But clearly, a lot of the heavy lifting is done by you know, Farm Herefordshire, the Environment Agency, Natural England, and indeed Natural Resources Wales, Welsh Water, and other bodies and organisations. But we have to play our parts, and that's what we're trying to reflect in this delivery plan.
Thank you, Councillor Swinglehurst. Well, I would just like to thank everyone for the development of the delivery plan, and like Councillor James, I would be really keen to see that we can produce all the delivery plans we can, but the point is actually delivering those things that we're going to say we're going to do, and that's the purpose of a document like this, is to list the things that we want to achieve within a year. It sets it out clearly what those things are, and we look forward to delivering those. The comments from Councillor Harvey about the strategic role and the need for a strategic role for the plan, I'm afraid Councillor Harvey and I are just going to have to agree to disagree on this. The whole purpose of having the council plan is to show how the council is going to work with all of its partners and do its bit to make sure that it delivers the best for Herefordshire. So rather than look at our knitting, it's more of a rich tapestry of how it connects with all of the other strategies that the council is involved in embarking upon with all of its partners, and you can't get more strategic than that. And I think one of the benefits of this, the council plan that was approved in May, is that it is clear how this plan links into all of the strategic documents and plans that our partners have signed up to. And so it is an ambitious plan that addresses the strategic role that this council plays in Herefordshire. Okay, so thank you for all of those comments, and I would now like to put forward the motion, the recommendation as set out in the report. It's proposed by Councillor Stoddart. I will second that. Cabinet members, can I have a show of hands? All in favour? Thank you. Thank you very much, and thank you for everyone's comments. So we now go to the agenda item 8, which is the new public realm service. This report seeks to approval for the council's public realm service model for market engagement. The item begins on page 63 of the agenda pack. Please note the political consultation took place on the 17th of June, and the comments were published as the first supplement that is on the 24th of June at page 3. So to introduce this item is Councillor Bramer.
Thank you, Leader. The April 2024 Cabinet Report approved the termination of the current Public Realm Services contract and set out the reasons for that decision. Termination has now been enacted, which means that the contract with Belford Beatty Living Places will end on the 31st of May 2026. Belfast BT Living Places have been kept fully informed of the developments and have committed to supporting the transition to the new arrangements. This report seeks A, that the Cabinet adopt the public realm services model set out in Appendix 1 for the purposes of market engagement, and B, the Cabinet delegates authority to the Corporate Director, Economy and Environment to carry out market engagement on the public realm services model set out in Appendix 1. Now, following market engagement planned during the summer, the model will be refined and returned to Cabinet in the autumn to approve a final version of the model for procurement, which needs to commence in January 2025. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bramer. Cabinet members, any comments about the recommendation in front of us? No comments. Okay, go straight to group leaders. Councillor Harvey.
Yes, thank you, Leader. I welcome that we've got to this point in the process. We had, as the previous administration, ambitions to make some changes to the way that this contract was operated, and those changes were significant. It transpires they're too significant to make as variations to the contract that we currently have, and so I welcome that we're actually going out to tender on this. It is a very sporty timeline in order to get to a new contract. So I really do hope that from a project management point of view, we stay on top of this. There isn't really much room for slippage. The devil will always be in the detail in terms of how any contract actually operates. I am slightly nervous to see that there is a proposal that schemes up to the value of £100,000 may be directly awarded through the contract at the council's discretion. I think we got into significant problems on the contract that we have at the moment in terms of our inability to demonstrate value for money for directly awarded contracts, and I really hope that the thinking will be undertaken to ensure that any direct awards are done in a way that allow us to maintain a very robust demonstration of value for money to justify such direct awards if and when they're made. Yeah, let's get on with this. I think it'll be welcomed by the public. It's worthwhile testing whether there are other contractors out there who are interested in delivering this mix of services, and I also welcome that there will be a range of services that will be brought back in-house, and we will reacquire the status of an intelligent customer on this, because I think that's really important in terms of being able to deliver and oversee the delivery of an effective partnership contract for public realm services.
Thank you, Councillor Harvey. Councillor James.
Thank you, Leader. Yes, but I think we need to be very, very careful, otherwise we shall end up in the same position we've been the last three contractors that have been provided. It is no good, these multinational, almost corporations like companies like Amy, Alpha BT, and the late Jarvis. They are too large and too remote. They cannot manage on a local basis, and we've got to realise that. There are local companies and businesses and workers who could do these individual parts of this contract at a far more competitive rate than these national companies. I mean, they have enormous overheads, and that's where public sector get themselves into a terrible mess by taking on these companies. I mean, look what's happened to HS2, the overruns in costs, etc., etc. The difference is, in this particular case, that the contractors have been able to write their own checks as far as the costs, and the public are sick to death. of this sort of seeing what's going on the ground, and the council seem to be unaware or unable to control the waste that takes place in these large national contractors. So we've got to change the whole concept of the way in which the services are delivered. They must be delivered on a more local basis, by local knowledge, by local contractors who have local knowledge. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor James. Councillor Simmons.
Thank you, Leader. As a group, we very much welcome the change in the public realm contract. We'd like to thank the Service Director for his work in getting to this stage and having a focus on outcomes. I noticed that we're going through the performance management framework as part of the market engagement, and that's being done at the moment with the look to develop the KPIs further, I'm assuming in the autumn, as Councillor Bramer has said, I think. I just, a bit like Councillor James, would like to have a plea really that we're really outcomes focused. KPIs have really skewed how Balfour Beatty have delivered this contract. There's been lots of management of the KPIs, you know, to ensure that we as the client, the council, is satisfied, but we are not the client ultimately. It is the members of the public who are using the facilities that the contract is maintaining and managing. We really have to get to a better focus on those outcomes. So, you know, taking the locality stewards back in-house is excellent. I'm really pleased to see that. I'm hoping that we'll have that greater response and the focus of our residents and parish councils and ward members who can see what is happening on the ground. I just want to plea that these are properly resourced when they are in-house. We've seen with bringing back into house the Public Rights of Way team or individual or two, and how that then sort of was left without the necessary resourcing. And I just want to make sure that in this shift and bringing things back in-house, they are properly resourced to enable that. So, yeah, other than that, I think we broadly welcome this. So thank you.
Thank you for those comments. And Councillor Davis?
Yes, I totally agree. We do welcome this, particularly to see less men all looking into a hole and only one man doing the work. Or women. Do you find that we have residents that will continually complain that there is a lorry parked around the corner with men sitting in it and only one person digging? So we do look forward to these changes, and particularly the locality steward and in-house. Thank you.
Thank you very much, for the group leaders, for your comments, which are duly noted. So, I mean, the purpose of early engagement with the market is intended to attract a wide range of providers that are able to deliver the works for the council, and we anticipate a broad range of providers will come forward to be part of the process. So those comments from group leaders are duly noted. Any more comments from cabinet members? Councillor Price.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with many of the things that group leaders have said. Actually, we've got ourselves into this position whereby we have relied for outsourcing a contract and we're not managing it in the way that we should. We are the clients. We should be dictating exactly how this is operated, what we expect from it, what the KPIs are going to be from it. We have our own council framework has been put in place for small, medium size contracts and larger, so that we can draw straight from that our own framework to pull in people to do jobs that are within the public realm, but not necessarily within the contract that's going to go forward. So we've taken on board a lot of stuff, and we have looked at some of the things that are delivered in the nth detail about what we expect to be delivered. So when the procurement comes along, whether it's a tier 1 provider or a tier 2 provider, they will know exactly what it is that we expect from them. And the end result is we will not be in a place whereby the contractor actually marks their own homework. That has been a failure of this contract. It's a failure of us not to have realised it and not to have done something about it over the last few years. So the fact that the lensmen are coming in, we will have better control of what is expected out there and the instructions to do something about it, and then be monitored by this council. So my plea is, going forward, however long going forward will be, is that this council does have in place the finance to operate the public realm contract and the staff to understand how to manage it. That is an absolute plea to go forward, and I don't think anyone will disagree with that. So this is a move in the right direction. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bramer?
Yes, I would say thank you to my to my cabinet colleague, and indeed to the group leaders for their comments. The one thing to remember here is that we're not talking about what occurred in the previous contract. We are talking about going forward with the new, but it doesn't mean to say that we should ignore the lessons that have been learned from what occurred in the previous Belford Beatty Living Places contract. I believe that the KPIs were skewed, is the word I think it is. I can't quite get my tongue around it, skewed. And I believe that these KPIs have to be written for us rather than for the benefit of the contractors. And certainly we've got to look at not only tier 1 suppliers, but also tier 2 local contractors when it comes to doing certain things would be far superior in my view. But I do think that we've now, we've got to consult on this during the autumn and go back for a decision to be made later in the year by cabinet, and I hope that the officers will be able to do that in the time, because it's a very short period of time that we have in order to get this under the new contract underway by June 26. The difference between June and January may only be one letter, but it's 6 months of extra time. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bramer. Okay, if there are no further comments, so the proposal is to agree the recommendations as set out, proposed by Councillor Bramer, seconded by Councillor Price. All those in favour, Cabinet? Okay, thank you. So it just remains for me to close the meeting. I would like thank everyone for their attendance and their contributions. The next meeting is scheduled for 2:30 on the 18th of July. I will now formally close the meeting, and please ask that the live stream is